Good night, everyone. Done tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jill Speaking Divine. I'm here to give you a word on today. And the topic going to be Monica, the world, Chattel. Now, Monica is David's first wife. So this story about Monica. And she's the youngest daughter of Saul. And she fell in love with David and married him. And she was David's first wife. David had to purchase her for 100 Philistine for a skin. Now, during her marriage to David, he always was running from her father's Saul, and she began to be bitter from being left behind. Her father Saul and David treated her like a chattel, that means a person of possession or property, because her father always was selling her to the highest bidder, and that's what he did with David and somebody else, and David was the highest bidder, and David brought mankind from her own father. And then David, he had to keep on buying her down the line. He gonna be buying, so she was just being treated like a property, So that's why he called Chattel. Now Mordecai may have been a king's daughter, but she was a true relative. Mordecai made no effort to understand her husband. She didn't understand her husband because they were always running from her father Saul, and she thinking when he ran somewhere and got saved, because he was gone for years. When he ran and got saved, she thought he was gonna come back for her, but he did. So this is how Chattel is a person possessing item or property other than real estate, and that's how and this how Micah had felt about her father and her husband treating her like this here. So this her story telling how she was being treated, and that's why she was so bitter with David. Remember when he was dancing, she was so bitter that she was just laughing. Now the story of Monica was a chattel, a personal property sold to the highest bidder. This when David first met her, and the father saw sold her to the highest bidder, and David won. So her father sold her first to David, for 100 Philistine and for a skin. So then when Saul and David relationship began to be deteriorate, Saul gave Micah to Chattel, to another man, you know. So Saul always was jealous of David, so that's why David always was running from Saul until Saul calmed down and then he come back. Yeah, But in the meantime, um Saul had sold his daughter to this man here, and he wound up and married her. So in the beginning of their marriage, she really loved David. They really had love. The love always gonna be there at the beginning, but it's how you keep that love and in between that marriage. It always gonna be good at the beginning. But while he just kept on running, he just kept leaving her behind. So David started running for his life from her father's son. So when David ran, and as he got saved, she thought he was gonna send for her, but he never did. Saul was a powerful man and had control over his own daughter. Now this is a woman who is in love with David, but he never sent for her. Her father Saul gave her to another man. I can't pronounce his name. Paltiel. Paltiel. And she married him. And she said he was a good man. She said he was a good man and he cherished her. So she become to be content. Now she never said she loved this man. She said as the years passed by, she become to be content with him. But she didn't say she loved him. So that means her heart, she still loved the David. Even though she was mad, she was bitter, she still loved the David. And she could not even love this her new husband. She could not love her because she never hear it said she never loved him. She said she was content with him as the years went by. She said he was a good man. He cherished her. Now he done more than what David do, because David loved her at the beginning, but then down the line he just treating her like she a property. And he not putting her as first priority. Now this man here is a good man. He cherishes her. He love her and everything. But he good to her, but her heart is still with David. Even though she become bitter, she still loved David. So now the years in the past, from David. David started fading away from her memory. Once a woman don't have no attention, no desire for the man when they go on a long time, it start fading away from your memory. And soon as that happens, guess what? Then the man won't pop back up. He gonna pop back up and talking about she belongs to him. You know, the years that passed by. David started fading away from her memory. She started less thinking about him. Because she started building hatred from him. The bitterness it was turning to hatred. You know, so David raised to power, father saw death. Now her daddy is dead. Now she had little impact on her life. So when they told her dad is dead, she really didn't care. She had little impact on her life when they said her daddy was dead. Because remember, her daddy had so much control over her, he treated her like a Chattel. So he kept on selling her to the highest bidder. So when he passed away, it didn't mean nothing to her. So remember, her father treated her like a Chattel. Monica was she was a prize to her father and to David. They just kept on treating her like the highest bidder. So now Saul is dead. Now David wants to reclaim her as his wife, making her a bargain chip. Now we know that she's married. Now he knows she married to another man, and this man he'll love her. This man really don't want to let her go. He crying and he begging her not to go. Now she building up hate. She start fading his David memory start fading away from her. She's so bitter, but why? She still loved her husband and went back to David. You know, I we don't never understand. She with somebody that love her and cherish her. But she she started building up hatred and bitterness for David, but she went back with David. You know, so her husband begging her. He was crying. He didn't want her to leave, but she left anyway with David. David said, "You belong to me." Just treating her like a property. So this man loved her. Now she already said he was a good man. Treat her like she's supposed to be treated. But that's the man she left and gone back to David, who don't even care when anything happen or anything come up. He just drop everything and he just run. You know, So this man loved her. He was good to her, cherished her, but she letting him go with David. All this long time she been having David fading away from her memory, trying to get over him. She trying to get over David. Because she building so much bitterness and she's built up so much hate, which is not good. But for you fade the memory away from him, she could have continued on doing that because she was trying to get over David. But David said, "You belong to me." He come back to reclaim Monica and marry her again and take her away. So now David been gone for years and left her behind, and she became to be angry, bitter, and she still loved David, and still left with. You know, she did all that hard work to try to get over him. As soon as he pop up, she went right back to him. So David had to pay for her. Now he didn't just grab her back. Now here we go again. He had to pay to get his wife back. So now David had to pay to get his wife back from her husband. No matter how long David feel he been gone, he still said Monica belongs to me. Treating her like a property. She belongs to me. That's what he said. So now David, he already have other wives. He have other wives, but he want to reclaim Monica back. Say that belongs to me. Bring her along with the other wives. You know that I mean, some men are something. You left her for years and years, and you done took on other wives. But now you want to come back and reclaim something that you left behind. Monica, she had begun to be angry, criticized into hatred. You know, the anger and hatred and bitterness that she had so deep inside of her. But she should have never left and went back with David. She should have stood with her husband. She was content. She was content, you know, because this not good. It's not good to build so much hatred and stuff like that towards someone like that. Because you either gonna have health issues or you gonna destroy yourself to death. We're gonna see that that's what's gonna happen down the line. So she saw him only through the lens of her own pain. She was in so much pain, but we don't know why she went back with him. But I guess the love was so overpowering in her pain till she went back. Because deep down inside, she was trying to get over David. But deep down inside, she probably missed him. She probably was happy when he called. Came to get her back. She probably was happy. So now David was dancing. Now Saul is dead. Her dad is dead now. Saul was over the Israelite. He was the king. Even though David was anointed when he was a boy, but he did not get in place because Saul was still in place. Now Saul is dead. Now God gonna anoint David to be over the Israelite. So that's a celebration. That's a celebration. So David is dancing. He dancing before the altar of the Lord. He dancing all his might. Because that's all David used to do. See, David danced, and David also writes songs. So he was celebrating. Because it was a long time coming for him to be king over Israel. Because he was anointed since he was a teenager. And it been years and years, and he just not getting into place. So he was happy. It was a celebration. So he dancing around the ark of the Lord. Dancing with all his might. And then his wife, filled with so much bitterness, and criticized him. She was in the window criticizing him, laughing, while he dancing. She didn't know why he was dancing. He was dancing because he was celebrating that he about to be the king. Saul gone. So he about to be the king. So that was a celebration. You know how long he was waiting to be a king? He been anointed since he was a teenager. When he was a teenager, God had picked him since he was a teenager. He was in the field, dealing with the sheep and all this kind of stuff. When God came to anoint him among all his brothers, God anointed him. God chose David, for him to now get into place, in position, to be the king over Israel. That was a celebration to him. So I guess she didn't understand that. And by she was so bitter and angry with David from keep on leaving him, leaving her behind when he kept on running from her father. So by she bitter, she criticized him, and she laughed while he dancing. She didn't understand why he was dancing. But David responded quickly. He responded quickly to my attack. His worship was before God, who had chosen him as king in place of her father Saul. You know. So now Saul dead, and now David is over the Israelite. So that's why she was in the window bitterness while David was dancing. She felt betrayed. She got all kind of stuff going in her mind. And this is a woman that deal with all this stuff in her mind and deal with it silence. And she never told nobody. And see, that's not good. I used to be like that. That's why I always talk to somebody, when you're going through your trials, because she went through all that stuff. She never talked to no one. She dealt with it silence. And she let all that stuff build up. You don't want all this stuff to build up to hatred, because that's not good at all, you know. So that's why she was in the Wonderland, criticizing David for dancing out there. She didn't know why he was dancing, you know. So now Monica ended her days without love and companionship of her husband. She had no children for David to the day of her death, So that's what I'm saying. All that bitterness and evilness and stuff that you hold in, you know, she didn't talk to nobody. She dealt with everything silence, and that's not good. Because when you build up so much anger and so much hatred in your heart, it's gonna cause health issues. You know, even may lead to death, like it did with her. She never got love. She never got companionship. She never got anything from David. You know, and then she just kept on being angry and kept on being bitter. Just kept on being not happy with David. Until she wind up dying, wind up had died. So that's not good. Did you go through something? You don't have nobody to talk to. Talk to God. You know, it could be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You could get up and pray. He will hear you. It's better for you to let it out. I'm always talking to me now because years ago that's what I used to do. Just hold stuff in, and one thing trigger you off, you just blow up. And it's not good to just have all that anger inside of you. I learned from that. Years ago, you cannot have all that anger built up in you like that. It will turn to health issues, and health issues will turn to death. So Monica, before her death, she was so bitter and she was so angry, and all that bitterness and anger had turned into hatred. So now she should have had stood with her husband. Now, what she should have did, she should have stood with her husband. She said he was a good man. He loved her. He cherished her. The woman that she's supposed to be. How a woman's supposed to be treated. That's the way her husband had treated her. David never treated her like that. Besides, at the beginning of their relationship, it was so much love. And then that faded away when he started having a problem with her father and constantly had to keep on running. That's why it's not good to be friends with someone and marry their sister or their daughter or their cousin. And it's not good to marry into that family like that, especially if you that close to that person. Because by he having a problem with her father, he had lack of love with her. That's why he just left her behind and ran. He figured, that's your father. Your father after me. Your father trying to kill me. Your father trying to do this and that. And put a damper on their relationship. So it's not good for you to marry into a family or to a friendship or whatever the case is, and you close to that person. Because when you have a falling out with that person, and you're married the sister, cousin, the daughter, or whatever the case is, it gonna put a damper on your relationship. It put a damper on their relationship because her father was the one kept on wanting to try to kill David. So he looking at her at a whole nother way, and he running and just left her behind. He didn't even try to come back and get her. He didn't pick up multiple wives. She was the first wife, but he was gone for years and going here and there. He picked up other wives, because he looking at her like, your father trying to kill me. Your father trying to do this to me. So it put a damper on your relationship when you close to someone and you're married into that family. And you have a falling out. You put a damper on that relationship. You're not going to look at that person the same. You're going to look at that person as that person father, cousin, or brother, or whatever, trying to do you harm. So Monica, before her death, she was so bitter. She should have stood with her first husband. She said he was a good man. He loved her. He treated her like she was supposed to be treated. But she was content. She never said she loved her husband. She said she was content. She loved David, but she never said she loved this second husband. But she said she was content with him as the years went by. But at least he treated her with love. That's a man thing a woman wants, to be treated with love and treated as a princess. You know, Mordecai was bitter and she was outraged due to being treated like a property. And that's all was on her mind. Her father treated her like a property. David treated her like a property. Everybody just buying her, going to the highest bidder. So she looking at her whole life like, you know, not only David made her bitter, she was bitter with her father. You know, her father has control over her. Her father also treated her. The first one started treating her like a chattel. At treating her as the highest bidder. So her life had become to be miserable and bitter. You know, so being mistreated and like a chattel, it's never in God's heart or design for a woman to be treated that way. Because God created Adam and Eve. And God told Adam, "You love that woman as you love the ground you walk on." You supposed to love that woman as serious go. God didn't design a woman and a man to be treated as a property. And, and that's how she had her life had become to be miserable. You know, Monica had suffered in silence, and that's why I said that's not good. All that pain that she was going through, she suffered all that in silence. She never talked to no one, not even talked to God about it. She dealt with everything in silence, and that's not good. That's why she become to be so bitter, so angry, and hatred towards David. So everything David was doing, she did was laughing. She thought everything was just funny, just criticizing, because she was so bitter in the inside, because she suffered in silence. You know, always talk to someone. And if you don't have no one to talk to God. Talk to God. You know, He'll listen. You might think that He's not listening. You might think He's not responding or He getting quiet. But trust me, God hear all our prayers. He may not respond to you today or tomorrow, but He will eventually respond to you because He listens to every one of our prayers. So don't never suffer in silence. Always talk to someone. And if you don't have no one to talk to God. So Monica has suffered in silence. Never do that. Still of her, stand with her husband. I still think she should have stood with her husband. Always be with somebody that gonna love you and treat you like a princess. That's how God had created a man and a woman. He created that man to treat that woman like silver and gold. You know, but these days it's not aligning up that way. And she wanted David to love her, you know, but she had somebody that loved her, and that's something. Sometimes you can be with someone that you don't love, but that same person and be the one that treats you like a princess, and then the one that your heart is gonna treat you like dirt. You know, all the hatred and bitterness she had, she still loved the David. She left the man that treated her like a woman supposed to be treated and left and went with David, who just treated her like she invisible. While he out there celebrating and dancing, why was she was up there in the window when she should have been out there dancing and celebrating with David? So they had a strange relationship. She went with David with all that bitterness and madness, knowing that was not gonna work out. You know, that she stirred up in her heart in silence. You know, that's not good. To lay it up to her death. You know, because if you constantly keep on having it built up in you, you know, it's gonna lead up to health issues, and health issues lead up to death. You know, so whatever you're going through, never suffer in silence. You know, turn it over to God. Turn it over to God. You can turn it over to God. You turn it over to Jesus. I mean, you got both of them. Jesus working on God's right hand side. You know, so you have two people that you can talk to. Don't never hold. I'm always talking to me. I don't know. God or Jesus might be tired of hearing me talking, but I don't have nobody to talk to. It's just me in this house. You know, so I'm gonna talk to either one of them. You know, so you got Jesus working on God's right hand side. So you got God, you got Jesus. I mean, talk to either one of them. Don't never hold that bitterness inside. This woman hold this bitterness inside until her death. You know, till it caused her death. You know, because she refused to stay with the one. She wasn't happy, but she was content. You know, because if she would have released some of that bitterness from her, you know, she would have opened her heart up to love her husband, and she would have, you know, forget about David. So when David would have came for her, she could have told David no. You know, she tried to get rid of David in her mind, but you got to get rid of that man in your heart. You know, she couldn't love her husband because her heart still had David inside of her. She had to open her heart up to her husband to love him. You know, so whatever whatever you're going through, never suffer in silence. Turn it over to God. Or turn it over to Jesus that's on his right hand side. You know, it will lead you to destruction, health issues, or your death. You know, so I'm gonna read 2 Samuel chapter 6:16. As the order of the law was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from the window. Now she in the window watching while they are downstairs having fun, celebrating, you know. And when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. You know, she despised him. You know, she just had so much bitterness in her. And then she never talked to David about how she really felt all them years. You know, he come back to reclaim her back, but then he got other wives on this side, and he got Monica on this side. But she never talked to David really how she felt. And then he come back to her with multiple wives when he was supposed to come back and get her, and he never did. You know, it was up to her to say no. You know, but she allowed all that to go on when she should have stood where she was at with the man that was treating her the way she was supposed to be treated. So when you are being mistreated or being treated like a Chattel, you know that's a personal possession. They treat her like a possession of property. You know, so one, never be a Chattel to no man or no father, because you know both of them treated her like that. Treat her to the highest bidder. You know, and if you in a marriage being treated this way, leave. Leave. Learn how to say no. Learn how to say no. So I don't have no problem saying no with me. No easily can come out of my mouth. You know, I'm not going to be nowhere where I'm miserable and got bitterness and hatred inside of me. I would not be with nobody with that kind of stuff built up inside of me like that. You know, a woman should be happy and should have a peace of mind. Don't never settle for less and be bitter and angry like that. You know, and don't never be angry. Silence. You know, talk to someone. You know, and two, if your marriage being treated this way, just leave. You know, learn how to say no. Three, never stay being bitter and mad. You know, leave. You know, because she should have never went with him. She should have stood with her husband who treated her the way she was supposed to be treated. You know, but then down the line, he got mad because she left, and he wound up David had to buy her from him. So he wind up and treat her just like David and her father. And I think he did it because he was mad, because he cried and begged her not to leave. So since she left, David had to purchase her. So that means he treated her like a property too. Treated her like a possession too. And four, never suffer in silence. You see what it led Monica. It led her to her death. It also led her to make a wrong decision. She bitter and everything madness. She made a wrong decision. She should have stood where she was at, not go with David. When David came for her, she should have given him a brick wall and told him no. You know, but she made a wrong decision out of bitterness. And angry. Five. Bring your problem to God. Never suffer in silence. Bring your problem to God. You know, I bring it to Jesus. Jesus on God's right hand side. You have two people to talk to. You don't have no friends or nobody to talk to. You talk to God or you talk to Jesus. Bring your problem to either one of those. Don't never suffer in silence. You see what happened here. It will cost you your death. It will cause you to be destroyed. It will cause you to make wrong decisions. 6. We see that she took anger out on David. She never talked to David. She never talked to David and told David how she felt. She never had a conversation with her father. She just kept all this stuff out of inside, in silence. Never talked to no one and told him how she felt. You know, so while she was angry with David and he out there dancing, she laughed and she criticized. So David was dancing towards God, and she didn't know what he was out there dancing for. By she just being so angry and mad, she just criticized and just in the window just laughing. Thinking it was